Arters, welcome back. Those of you that are on this journey with us, this is the Summer Art Club for UMA. I did not come on last week, and I do apologize for that. My dog, Loki, had a seizure, and so last week was a absolute nightmare. But he's okay, we're doing okay, and I just kind of wanted to get back on here and start with another tutorial. So let's go. Okay, so we are actually going to go back to my childhood, and we are going to start today with a drawing of one of my favorite Pokemon characters, and I'm sure that many of you could probably guess this because he is very popular, but we are going to draw Pikachu. And I'm going to show you a technique today that I like to call blocking out. So that basically means is what we're going to do is we're going to make shapes to begin with that symbolize or come very close to the object we are trying to draw before we get into detail. So I am going to do my best to demonstrate this for you. It's one of my most common drawing techniques that many people ask for because it usually is the easiest one for us to learn from. So I'm going to put in more of a square-ish shape here for the head with a little bit of wiggle room for his little face, and then we're going to start with the torso or bottom half of his body, because I'm not really sure we can call it a torso. He's kind of a little plumpy character. And then we'll come down on this side, and then we'll add a little bit more. Oh, I think we might have gone a little too long. Let's do some measuring here. Yep, I think we're a little too long. So if you don't know what measuring is, it's basically where you look at an object and you kind of measure, guesstimate per se, with your eye's view on how large something needs to be. So if you notice here, his head is as long as his body, okay? So we will go ahead and we want to make sure that we create that same space before moving on. So I'm going to go in here really quick and erase some of those lines that I made previously so I can readjust. And let's see if we can zoom in a little bit more. Maybe I need to just draw darker. Give me suggestions, guys, because I would love to know what you think. And on my last video, I guess when I qualify these videos as safe for kids, which I didn't even know was a thing, it doesn't let you comment on videos. So this time around, I'll just go ahead and make sure that we are able to let you comment on videos so you can tell me what it is you want to draw. So this shape right now may seem very odd, and I totally agree with you, but I promise if you trust the process, which I tell my students all the time, okay, trust the process, we will get to the same point, okay? So I'm just going to slow down a little bit because I think I'm going a little too fast, but I am going to come in here and kind of redefine his face before moving on so that maybe you guys can see more of the vision. I don't like to use references when doing demos for you guys because I want you to do each line with me step by step. So that's just more so what we're working with right now. Okay, let's make sure we're in focus. We're kind of blurry today. Don't like that. Let's try it again. There we go. Oh, that's much better. Okay, so we're back into focus. Here we go. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and add in his adorable little ears. And if you notice, his ears are about half the size of his head. So I'm going to measure and then measure, okay? Now, if you don't want to do this, that is fine. If you don't want to measure, that's okay. A lot of people aren't familiar with the idea of measuring. They don't like the concept, or it just seems too complicated, and that's okay. But I want to make sure that both ears are the same size, so I am going to use my finger again when I get his ear in, just to make sure that they are the same height. Okay, I'm liking the way that is looking. Okay, and then we're going to just pop his headline in front of this ear and behind that ear. Okay, so we have to this point. So we're kind of seeing him a little bit more. I'm actually going to put in his feet first before we move on to the arms. So down here at the bottom, if you've noticed, I've kind of made a little bit of a pointy edge right here. And right here is where I'm going to pop in his foot. And his foot is going to basically be like a little triangle. Okay. And then he has 3 toes. I almost said feet. He's got 3 little toes. So we'll draw in those lines and add it. Okay. We want to make sure that when we are drawing these kinds of lines inside, that we are allowing us to show that there can be and should be space between those lines, creating more so of an actual 3D foot versus just lines. And it looks like I could even pull these up just a hair more, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Okay, and then we'll pop in the second foot, and this one we are going to do some erasing. We're going to pull his heel out down here, okay, and then we're going to match that line coming up, okay, and then you're just going to connect everything together. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and erase that interior line there and repeat the same thing I did with the last group of toes. Woo! Not enough room. Okay, so we're going to pull this toe forward and then this guy behind. Okay, so if you see that, we have a line in front and then we have another line back here. And then I'm going to pull this toe in front and down as well. Okay, so we have his little foot. We'll go ahead and make sure all of our lines look nice and crisp. Okay, so right now we have almost a Pikachu, but totally armless. We're going to get in there and fix that here in just a second. So we still need 2 arms and a tail and then all the interior stuff. Okay, now with this particular piece, I feel like this video is going to be way too long if I get in there and I paint it all. So we're just doing the drawing tutorial, and then I'm going to do a quick shading, and that will be it for today. Okay, and then if you guys again have more suggestions about what you would want to see me draw and what you would like for me to help you draw, I'm more than happy to do that. So for his arms, we're actually going to start about halfway up his face. Okay, so right on this line. Okay, and I'm going to start by bringing out a straight line and maybe not too far out. I think we'll go half length of his ear. Okay, so we'll go right here with that line. And then we're going to pull another line starting about here, and it's going to come across the body. Okay, so we will be erasing this line. And we want it to kind of pudgy its way out there. Maybe not that much, because he's got these cute little arms that are all nice and round, and then he's got those teeny tiny little hands. So we'll erase that one side. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and start with his little hands. And his little hands, he's got 1 thumb, if you look closely, and then he's got 4 little spikes. And we might even be bringing this in closer here. So the thumb right there, and then he's got these 4 little spikes. Okay, and you can do those however you want. Notice I am going to continue to adjust. His little hands are interesting. There we go, making them a little bit more even. There we go. Okay, with his little thumb. Perfect. So we have our one arm, okay? And then we're going to go ahead, and I'm actually going to bring this line up a little bit more just so that he feels a little bit more complete. And I'm going to cut this line off just a hair because it doesn't need to be that intense. Okay. Okay, so we got to erase this line. Make sure that we keep these two here. And then we're going to, oops. And then we're going to go ahead and repeat that step on the opposite side with just a little bit of a difference of shapes. So it's going to kind of come up and we'll pop it here, but he's got that little curve here. Bring it forward a little bit more. I like to think that his arms remind me of bottles. So if you drew like a bottle top, his arm comes out and then it comes in very similar to these. I mean, clearly depends on the way he's sitting, but he does have that like line, and then he's got these nice little curved lines on the outside. So they do remind me of bottles, kind of like the old-fashioned milk bottles that come in glass that the milkman used to deliver. And we could go on and on about how weird that conversation can get, but you know what I mean. Okay, so we have basically all of Pikachu except for his tail and the little designs inside. So we are going to quickly pull off those lines to get his tail in. And then we'll go in and we'll pop in some of his facial features, get his little lines in for his hair and fur, and then we will be basically done. So that's pretty crazy. So let's start right here. This is where his tail is coming up. And remember, his tail is very shapely, meaning it's very much geometric because it is a lightning bolt, or at least it's supposed to look like one. So we're just pulling that line in. I'm going to make sure if you're like it's not lining up correctly, go ahead and draw a line just to make sure, okay? And then you can erase it nice and quickly so it's not there forever. And I think it's fun to add some of these curves to his tail so that it just feels more like 3D, like he's in action versus it just being a solid. Right, we don't want it to look like that. We want it to have some life to it. So then we'll bring this one forward a little bit more, bring this down. Let's see, we gotta get this part in. We're pretty much almost done. Okay, so we've got his tail in, okay? Pretty awesome looking. So let's go ahead and pop in his lines for his ears and his fur. So we have this line for here, and then that one. This one has kind of like a zigzag line. I like to almost say mountain. And then he's got his cute little eyes and his cheeks and his nose and his mouth. His nose is so tiny. So we're actually going to start with one circle over here. Okay. Then we'll do the other one over here. Let's make sure they match in size. Okay. And then we got to put in his eyes. Ooh, this part makes me so nervous. Because I'm like, if it doesn't look like the character, I have failed. Okay. So there's one eye, and then notice they are circles, so you want to make sure that you keep them as circles. Can you imagine if he was like, I mean, he does sometimes do this, but can you imagine if that was his eyes all the time? He's always squinting. That would be interesting. Okay. Oh, he's looking so cute so far. Okay, I'm actually going to put in his mouth first before his little nose, because his little nose depends so heavily on his mouth that I want to make sure I get that perfect before I pop in his nose. He's looking so happy. And he's got his little tongue. And then you can see almost the back of his throat because he's so happy. His mouth is wide open. Every time I see his face like this, I can just and I told you that I was going to do a quick shading. But I think before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and trace over my lines with a Sharpie pen, so that hopefully you can see all of his lines nice and clear. Next week, I am thinking about doing a mermaid in a bottle, so it will be a little bit more advanced than the last two that we have done, but I'm hoping that you will be brave enough and try it anyways. And we will also be needing, you can either use Crayola markers, and then a brush and water. I'm going to probably use watercolors, but I'll explain how to do it with the Crayolas if you don't have your own paint. I just want to make sure that this is an inclusive experience for anyone who's watching, anyone who is willing to try new things. But I just want to make sure you have the materials that you will need. And if you don't, that's okay. I will have more videos to come where it will hopefully just stay pencil and paper. If you would like me to do separate tutorials, so a painting tutorial one week and a drawing tutorial the same week, maybe less advanced, more advanced, I am happy to do all of that. You just need to let me know in the comments if you would like to see more from me or less from me or whatever you want to choose. It is totally up to you. I do like hearing from you guys and just knowing what you want. Okay, so to wrap this all up, I'm going to do some quick shading in specific spots. And there is your Pikachu. Awesome. Well, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope I see you guys next week. Thanks, everybody. Bye.